Okay guys, so this video is going to be a spark plug change, and I'm probably going to change or at least check the radiator fluid. The oil change I did in a different video, so I'm not going to go into that, but we'll be removing the tank to get at the plugs and stuff on this thing. There's supposed to be a special tool that's needed. I'm not sure if I need it or not, but we'll go down that road when we get there. But yeah, we're going to start disassembling this thing and looking at the plug. So when I come into a certain section, I'll try to zoom in with the camera and show you kind of what's going on. But a lot of this, I'll just kind of fast forward and it just be taken off the seat and the tank and stuff. So let's get started. Yes. Bottom of the tank is a 12 millimeter. Besides these being pushed in to the little rubber plugs, it also has a little screw on it, so don't forget to take out that screw. This is just basically one of the side covers that go over, it looks like your fuel pumps on this side. So you got a fuel pump here, and then when you pull the gas tank off, I'm going to have to disconnect this fuel pump. Ooh, dirty, very dirty. All right guys, remember, because I didn't, this piece here may have to come off on other different bikes, but on the VK2 this does not have to come off to remove your fuel tank. So do not take this piece off. I just put mine back on because I noticed after I did my disconnections, and I'll show you the connections in a little bit, that this piece doesn't need to come off. Because you end up taking this off and then you try to undo the electronics in here, and the electronics, they don't want to come apart. So if you don't have to, don't do it, but they designed this so you don't have to pull this apart. So this, right now, I can take off the whole gas tank, and this is connected. The wiring on this will end up basically just getting plugged back in later on, but you don't have to. It's designed so you don't have to take it off. So just a heads up. So now with the tank off, and I'm going to swing this camera around. I'm going to show you some of the issues, common issues that I was running into right off the bat. Alright, so right here, this is actually your connector, your fuel line connector, and it's got this orange safety clip thing. So when this is in, it's locked, you actually have to push on these two orange tabs on this side here. These two little orange tabs, and then I took a screwdriver to push it so it disengages. And you got to have the thing almost all the way pulled back so you can actually pull down on this thing to get it undone. This plate here, I took off. There's this large screw. They're both about the same size, a bolt. There's a large one that goes to the front of the bike and a shorter one that goes to the rear of the bike. This was just so it made it easier to have access to this guy, because when this was bolted on, you really didn't have much finger room to get in there. The other thing was all the electronic wires that are on the tank right now, that came off with the tank, they just wrap around. They go through these little kind of holders that are built onto this frame, this little frame here, which has got your coil packs on it. And that's what I'm hoping I didn't screw up, is any of my coil packs when I was using the rev limiter. But you have 2 coil packs on here, and then you have your connectors. You got your fuel line connectors, you got your other line connectors, probably for the speedo, everything else. And then you have an additional connector over here. Really not sure what that's for, but once again, these connectors here can be a pain in the ass to try to figure out how to get them undone. The thing that I figured out is that when you come in, somebody was saying that you stick a screwdriver in the side and try to wiggle. I don't know if that's exactly what they meant, but it's actually the front portion. You stick a screwdriver in the front portion of this thing and you lift up on the tab. So each one of these tabs, you're sticking the screwdriver in and you're actually pulling it outwards. So every one is from the front of the tabs. These little tabs here lock the thing. So you got to stick a screwdriver in here, and I'll try to zoom in when I do this with the camera. But right here, there's these little tabs. You pull them forward. Pull these tabs forward, pull these tabs forward to get it out. It makes it look like you have to do something on the sides here with the design. And I was messing around with the sides. Luckily, I didn't break anything, but it's not the sides. It's all the fronts. Fronts, fronts, fronts. So you pull the tabs out from the front, and you wiggle your connectors out. Once you have them unstrung from here, spaghetti strung, you have them open. You can pull this tank off. There's nothing else connecting it up front. And you have one vent line here, a little breather line that you have back here. You got to fidget this off. I used a screwdriver. I was trying to take it off with pliers originally. It wasn't coming off with the pliers, so I stuck a screwdriver in there. Once you get the little safety clip, which mine slid back, it's got one of those little spring clips on there. Once you undo that, you just take your screwdriver, pry that down. So with that being done now, we can actually see the motor. I can get at my radiator right here. Well, actually the filler for the radiator is up top here. We'll be able to check that. Okay, so in these little crevices in between the covers, you actually have the plugs. There's one here, one here. The one up front, you have a little bit more clearance. You probably got about, I don't know, say 3 inches of clearance there, at least 3 inches of clearance there. Back here, between the plug and these wires and the frame, it's only maybe about 1/2 inch or so, maybe 1 inch. So this one here is going to be tough, just even to get the plug boot off. I'm going to try on that. The front one should be a lot easier, but I'm going to go after the tough one first to see how bad this ends up being. So give me a minute here. I'm going to try to figure out a way to get to this back plug. Alright, so that wasn't too bad. I just used the 2 screwdrivers, got some leverage, and I pried up on it. So, I mean, if you were going to do a complete tune-up and you wanted to change your wires and your coils out, this would be the prime time to do it because you get access to everything. I'm hoping that this tune-up just requires these $20 plugs each that are going to go in here. You can get them cheaper on Amazon. I think there was a certain set that I could get, but it was going to take, like, I don't know, within a week's time to come. I need to get this done fast before a week, so I think when I broke it down on Amazon, they came to like maybe $13 a piece per plug versus going to the auto parts store where they're like just under $19 a plug, and then after tax, you know how that works. So. But this plug here, they say a 5/8 plug socket works on the 800s, the Vulcan 800s. I haven't seen anything on these VK 2000s, so I'm assuming a 5/8 plug works, but we'll see what happens. I'm gonna go search through, see if I have a plug wrench in there. If I don't, I'll try to use something else. So, okay. Use a 1/2-inch socket wrench with a 3/8 reducer on it, just so I can get this pipe wrench, because my 3/8 socket wrench is a cheap one. So we only have the 2 spark plugs, and this method here, it seems to be working. On a couple of the forums that I was looking at, they said you needed a special tool. The special tool at that time, they were saying was like $60-something for the special tool to remove these plugs. When I looked it up, it's now like over $90, and you didn't have a wide selection of where you could buy this tool from. So, all right. It should be loose enough now where I can actually try to get my hand in there. And what I'm gonna try to do is separate my contraption here. I think one guy was saying that it took him like 4 days to try to figure out a way to change his plugs. I wouldn't have had the patience if it was going to take me 4 days to do this. I think I'd throw it up on a trailer and take it to a shop. I know there's a pride thing involved in that when you can't do your own stuff, and if you don't trust people on working your stuff. That's another thing too. I have this bike propped almost straight up and down so I can work on it. Not really the safest way to do it, but because this bike has such a nasty lean to it, when you actually throw it on the kickstand, they lean this thing over big time. So, but it's not too bad as long as you don't go super heavy on pushing on it. Now I just gotta figure out a way to get out that plug, which my socket's still in there, so I think I'm gonna try to use some pliers and see if there's a way I can still spin it. This is like incredibly tight. I get what they're saying, that it's such a pain in the ass to try to do this, because you can't even stick your finger around the other side to get it. So you almost need to use your tool and make sure it's fully undone, because you're not gonna have the leverage to get your fingers in there, or the room to get your fingers in there and twist it by hand, even though it's like super easy to do. There's just not enough room in here to work. So I'm just going to try to be as careful as possible, keeping that plug as straight as possible when I'm doing this. Alright, so it looks like the plug is completely out now. So if I can just get this tool separated again. Well, so much for separating it, but it's out. So you can see that this is actually, you can accomplish this without the special tool. Was it easy? No, it wasn't easy, but it wasn't super hard. I think I had a harder time figuring out these damn clips to get the fuel tank off versus actually getting that plug out. But this plug here, it looks like it's burning kind of lean right now. I don't know if you can see that or not, but the tip is actually on the whiter side, so I'm kind of shocked to see that it was burning lean, but there's nothing, performance-wise, I don't have anything performance put on this thing. I run the high-test fuel in it, and other than that, there's nothing really done to it, so yeah, that's definitely, the way it was running, I thought one of these plugs was going to be soaked, and it still could be. I still might have the front one that's really wet from not really firing that good, but this one here seems definitely lean. But we'll see. So that's one out. Now to go after the front one, which I'm hoping the front one is a lot easier. Oh, dang. I'm kind of wondering if that was my problem, because this front one just popped right the hell off, unless that was just for me removing the gas tank and stuff. Geez, that just kind of popped right off. Well, in any case, I'm going to change the plug out. But that came off awfully too easy. Right, so I'm going to try to move this to this side here. Give you the best shot I can at that. And we're going to use the same tool, not really tool, but the same concept to go after this front one. So a 5/8 socket wrench, a swivel adapter, an extension, and you're able to do this job. I'm really not sure why some people were having so much difficulty with this, but it's actually not that bad. Bad thing is I ordered 4 plugs, so basically spending an extra $40, which I may just try to contact them and let them know I only need 2 now. It's funny, when you're used to doing something, you just assume everything's kind of the same, but why I was thinking this thing had 4 spark plugs, I don't know. So this guy is the same way. The tip is white, which to me is kind of saying that thing's burning lean, but I don't know. Maybe some of you motorheads know more than I do, but they both pretty much look identical. Both look identical, and it's the exact plugs I ordered too. It is the NGKs. NGK IZF R6F11. So that's the plugs that come out of these things. IZF R6F11 NGKs. She had a cross-reference for some auto lights, but I wasn't having that because the auto lights, she was only going to charge me like $9 a plug for the auto lights, but I wanted to put the NGKs back in. I've always ran NGKs on my motorcycle, so we'll stick with the norm that comes out of these things. Okay guys, so the plugs finally came in and we can start putting this thing back together again. So these are the plugs right here. Autopot store called me, said they came in, so, and alright, so the gaps look pretty good. Always check them with a feeler gauge. I don't currently have a feeler gauge. I don't do this all that often, so hopefully they're at the right gap. You don't really want to do that because this is kind of a decent job if it's not, but I'm going to assume they're at the right gap. So let me get these guys back in here because I'm on a time frame right now. There's going to be a Mercedes coming in this garage shortly. I got to finish up before that Mercedes gets here. And the lawn crew always cuts the grass on my days off, so that you'll be hearing the lawn crew a lot driving around. Unfortunately, my days are the same as their days, so. I'm just dropping them in the spots right now where they go, and then we'll get the socket on them. Oh, crap. Before I forget, pull these. Well, actually, no, these stay on. Alright, on certain bikes you pull this cap off, but my old caps were left on, so I'm going to leave my caps on. Let me see. Yeah, this is made, these are made for the caps to be left on, so don't pull them off like I almost did. And then that would have sucked, because I would have had to try and get the cap back on after all this. It actually might be easier if I stick the plug in the socket first, then try to get the socket and the plug down in the hole. This is just a horrible design. I don't know why they wouldn't give you clearance for this, because you don't want to cross thread these, and I'm afraid if I'm on an angle I'm going to cross thread, so I really like to get them finger started first, but I don't think I can get my hand in there. I don't know if the pliers actually help. No, can't get the pliers in there either. So getting them in might be tougher than getting them out because this is extremely awkward right now to try and do this. Fingers just cannot get in there. Just putting the socket on, I think, will help. Because I can actually get my fingers a little bit on the socket versus the plug, which it feels like it started. Yeah, it definitely started to go in. So now, if I can get my extension on my swivel in there, we might be in business. Take that out. And there is torque specifications on these as well. So if you're one of those anal people that do everything by the book, which you should, you can find out the torque specification of what they want you to put these plugs at. I don't have a small enough torque wrench, I don't believe, to get into this spot, so I mean I could put it on this extension, but my goal is just to tighten them down. By just moving up and down a little slightly bit with the wrench, you can kind of get a better turn out of it. That's about it for what I can get. That feels snug. I'm not going to jinx myself and snap one in there. Yeah, that's tight. So now, go ahead and put my boot on. Went on, but I didn't feel it click. When it's on there. It must have clicked. I didn't feel it. Alright. So let's go to the front one now. We can do the same thing. Front one we actually have some clearance on, so let's see what we do here. That one Getting started. That one's in. Cool. Alright, that guy's on. Check everything. Alright. Now we can put the gas tank back on. So alright, so you definitely feel it lock into those rubber grommets there where it needs to lock into. Now, just gonna make sure all our lines are clear and everything. Get this back. Fuel pump line is clicked back in. I can mount this housing back up. See if she starts. That's what it was. The spark plug needed to be changed, or it could have still been that boot that I found that came off like super easy from the front, which I don't know what it would have actually. I think I might have actually loosened that one up. It might have caught on something when I was lifting the tank off, but if not, either way, it's got 2 new plugs in it. It's running fine now. Because before with the other plug, it was like almost stalling out. It was like misfiring. And all right, hopefully that helps. Like I said, everything else is just a reverse procedure of what I just did. The clips were easy to push back in. You just got to make sure your wiring's away from everything. All your stuff is away from the heads of the motor and stuff. But it's all coated anyways on these bikes, so everything should be good. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned something. I don't know. If you didn't, sorry, but I tried. Anyhow, these are great bikes, and hopefully with this plug, the way this is done, it's going to last me a long time. So until next time.